Hey everybody, Multi-Classic Gamer here. Welcome to Neenah, Wisconsin. It has been 5 months since my last video, and there are two big reasons for that, and I'm going to use this vlog to explain that. So let's get into it. So the main reason why I stopped making or actually stopped posting videos, I've still been making videos here and there since then, but my last vlog was on January 23rd, I do believe. And there's actually a reason for that. You see, for those who don't know, at the end of January, you see YouTube brought out this change where you are required to have a Google AdSense account connected to your YouTube account in order to have your channel monetized. And it can only be one. You can only be one Google AdSense account connected to one channel at a time. And this is completely irrelevant because for some odd reason, I was not able to connect a Google AdSense account to my channel. I could not get one started because it kept on claiming. Well, actually, I was able to start an AdSense account, but it would not connect to my YouTube channel because my channel's AdSense account is somehow connected to United We Play's email address. Like somehow it's connected to the email address that's attached to United We Play. And United We Play is technically monetized, although we currently don't make enough money on there to actually, get any funds from it. But either way, that's not important. The thing is that it thinks that my channel is connected to United We Play, so therefore it will not allow me to make my own AdSense account and connect it to the channel and have it separate for United We Play. It's kind of stuck like that. So essentially, yeah, and I tried contacting Google about it. Google is never helpful. Just wanted to throw out there, Google and YouTube, they're never helpful. Their way of helping is by tossing you over to some user-led forums where people offer advice, like just, YouTubers offer advice to other YouTubers on how to do stuff. Like they just have like these common question and answers up there. I don't know. It's just not helpful at all whatsoever. Like they don't connect you to someone who actually works at Google or YouTube at all to get this fixed. No, they just throw you over to some user-led forums, and that's it. They don't do anything else to help you out. And unfortunately, my network couldn't help me either. The thing is, along with this change, having a network attached to your channel does not, it has no bearing on this whatsoever. So whether or not you are connected to a network, and before you had to have a Google AdSense account if you didn't have a network. Essentially, that's how it worked before. But now, regardless of whether you have a network or not, you cannot have your channel monetized without having connected to a Google AdSense account. So essentially, my channel is permanently paused for monetization. I do not make any money from my videos, and more importantly, the YouTube algorithm does not push my videos, essentially. And that is the problem there. I don't care about the money, okay? My YouTube channel, the amount I make on my YouTube channel is so negligible that honestly I don't care if it's there or not. It's the fact that the algorithm of YouTube no longer pushes my videos. That's what kind of took away the motivation to make videos, because the fact that potentially nobody's going to see them, and that probably still is the case. So I'm probably not going to get any views, hardly any views on any videos going forward on this channel. And that is why I'm still considering other options. I was thinking I can make another YouTube channel, but the problem be getting everyone to go over there. How would that work, there's no way I could get almost 9,000 subscribers to move over to a new channel in a timely manner. No way, no how. So I don't know what to do at this point. Besides just continue making videos on this and not care if they get views or not. But that doesn't always work out. Because for me, I say this all the time. I say that I don't care if my videos get views or not, and I continue to make videos regardless. But ultimately, it kind of does subconsciously affect my motivation if people aren't at least watching the videos. So I don't know at this point. But I guess for now, I'm just going to press on and just continue making videos anyways. Maybe someday if I do make a new channel, I can just move all my videos over there, which would take a while. It would take forever because I'd have to re-upload everything, and that's it's almost 2,000 videos at this point, I think. So I'm not too happy about it, but that's an option I'm considering. But that's the first main reason why I haven't been making videos for the past 5 months, and haven't been posting once again. But the other reason is because my move. My move took place over the past 3 months. It was a very long, complicated process. It was a long time coming, and it should not have been this complicated. It should have been very, very simple, like all the previous ones. I mean, the last move from Washington to Wisconsin is pretty complicated, but that's for an obvious reason. It's halfway across the country. Well, more than halfway, essentially. So first we have to go back to 2019 when I first moved to Wisconsin, Fond du Lac, Wisconsin, to be exact. It was May 2019, and when I moved there, I was already under the assumption that I was going to not live there very long at that particular place and move either a year or two down the road. But at the same time, I was also tired of moving. So for that reason alone, that is why I stayed there for a second year. It was the very first time since moving into an apartment of my own that I actually stayed for more than 1 year. And that's a big deal because I've been moving every year essentially ever since I graduated high school in 2014. Yeah, I moved there knowing I was going to move to another apartment not too long after, like a year or two. Ended up being 2 years after. Basically, the main reason why I was planning to move shortly after moving there is because the apartment that I moved to was actually kind of expensive for Wisconsin standards. I was paying around $750 for rent, and that was for a 1-bedroom apartment. And there was a good reason for that. It was a very big, expensive, more fancy apartment, you could say. You probably saw from the vlogs there, the ceilings were very tall, and the apartments themselves were technically brand new, even though the building itself was like a century old. It was still, the apartment was newer and fancier, so they had a lot of nice bells and whistles to them, like the fact that they had central heating and air conditioning. That was very handy for the summers and winters. It kept the temperature just right for me in there. And there were a bunch of other cool things about that apartment, but either way, it was a great place to live. It's just not me. It's too big. It felt too big for me, essentially, too fancy, and there's just too much to it that I didn't need, essentially. So for that reason, Rona alone was planning moving, but I ended up staying there last year because of, not so much because of the pandemic, that also probably would have kept me from moving, but also mainly because of the fact that I just didn't feel like moving. I was just sick of moving every single year. So yeah, I took last year off for moving, and I'm glad I did because I enjoyed living there second year. But yeah, I knew I wanted to move to a cheaper apartment, and I officially made that decision in the middle of March this year. At this point, it's been almost 2 months since my last vlog. And now leading up to this hiatus, by the way, I just want to throw this in there. I have been making almost daily vlogs showing my video game library collections. And let me just say that I have increased my libraries, like almost each of them, practically almost exponentially. So those vlogs are now all outdated, because I have all these new games for probably every single system that I showed in those vlogs. So that's a whole nother can of worms, getting you guys updated on my game libraries as they have changed since then. So yeah, that's another thing I'm gonna have to get into, but we're gonna save that for a later vlog or whatever I decide to do. Because some of them I did actually do vlogs for, I just never posted them, so you'll probably just see those or something at some point. Yeah, not only did I get new games, but I also got new systems too, like over the past couple months, and it was quite a few actually. So I'm very excited, looking forward to sharing those with you guys. Pretty much the whole process started on the 19th of March. I have this little timeline of sorts on my computer screen, so I can kind of go over the key things that happened. So March 19th is when I officially started the process. I contacted 11 different apartment complexes, and among them was obviously this place where I live now. Most of them were in Neenah. I think some of them were in Oshkosh, and there was even a couple in Fond du Lac. Basically, I just wanted cheaper apartments, but this is one of the places I picked because it was kind of it's one of those apartment complexes where it's not that easy to find. It's not listed very often when you go to apartment.com or whatever website to search them up. Some of these apartments don't come up because they're just so low profile. But generally, those same apartments are also the cheaper ones. So it just made more sense for me to kind of just look around the area manually and find apartments that way. And it's one of the places I came across, and it looked like, since it was fairly low profile, I figured it'd be a cheaper place, and the buildings definitely looked like it from the outside too. And I was right about that, by the way. because now my rent is $200 cheaper than it was at the previous apartment. So very, very happy about that. But getting back on topic, yeah, I contacted 11 different apartment complexes, and actually this is one place I contacted. I think it was the first one actually. On the first day I called this place, I didn't get any response whatsoever. So I just waited a little bit. I waited 5 days and called this place back again, March 24th, and I finally got a response. And now I don't know the exact day, but shortly after that, I think it was like a 26th or 27th. I don't remember which one it was. It was either that Friday or Saturday. I came by here. Yeah, I filled out the application, paid the $25 application fee. Now, once I filled out the application and had it turned into them, I was pretty sure at the point I was gonna get the place because like I have a pretty good credit history. Like I've never been late on payments, never been late on rent or anything like that. So I had no worries considering, worries about not getting the apartments. The issue came down to whether or not the apartments had units available, or if they allow pets, because that was also important. But yeah, a lot of the, some places I contacted, the apartment complexes, they either didn't allow pets or were too expensive, like more expensive than I thought, or they didn't answer at all. So that was the issue with most apartments I called that day, including this one because it didn't answer. But yeah, either way, on March 28th, a day or two after I submitted the application, I got the call saying that the apartment was available and that was approved. So that's not surprising. I found out more information here and there as the time went on. I actually tried to call them like several times, like throughout as time went on. But basically, when I turned in after I turned in the application, I told them I was planning to move in May 1st because April 30th, I believe, was the end of I can't remember if it was April 30th or May 1st. That was the official end of my lease in my previous apartments. But basically, that's when I was planning to move, is May 1st. Yeah, it must have been May 3rd, May 1st. That was the expiration of the previous rent. I don't know, or previous lease on the previous apartments. So bear in mind, I got all this taken care of 1 month in advance with over a month left before the end of my lease at my current place. I had an apartment picked out and I had applied for it and I had it. Like the apartment was guaranteed to me. I had paid my security deposit, $500, and that was that. Once you put down the security deposit, that place is officially yours. It's off the market. So essentially, I had this apartment already, like 1 month in advance, okay? I was supposed to move out of my previous apartment on May 1st, and I had the apartment ready. I had an apartment picked in already, basically, on March 28th. So over a month in advance. This is important, okay? This is very important for what's coming up later. So at the end of March, I submitted my 30-day notice, because you have to do that when you're planning moving out of your apartment. So you have to submit a 30 or 60 or 90-day notice. So like 1 to 3 months in advance of your lease expiring. So that way they know that you're moving out. So that way they can get someone, they can get a new buyer in time for you to move out, essentially. So that's why you have to do that. So I submitted my 30-day notice, told them I was going to move out on May 1st. And then, so after that, things were kind of slow for a little bit. In early April, actually, this is not very relevant, but I just figured I'd mention this. April, I can't remember look up the days real quick. So April 5th through the 13th, I actually went on a road trip down to Las Vegas, Nevada to visit my dad. And this was a really fun trip for the most part. It was a chance to finally see my dad, because this was the first time I ever got to see my dad since I moved here to Wisconsin in May 2019. So it was a big deal. I hadn't seen him in over 2 years, well, almost 2 years at that point. And so yeah, I drove all the way down there and back, and it was a fun trip. I did have some issues with the driving, but I can get more in detail into with this trip to see my dad if you want to in a future vlog. But yeah, that happened. I got back to Fond du Lac on April 13th and went back to work on Wednesday the 14th of April. So there's that. So back to the other stuff. Up to me getting back from my Las Vegas trip, there were things that I failed to ask for like there were questions I should have been asking my my new landlord before moving in here. And the biggest thing was, what apartment number was it going to be? I didn't know the apartment number yet after I submit the had everything all set. I thought if I had asked the right questions, I wouldn't have to call them at all up until the move-in day. But other than knowing what day I was going to move in, I didn't know a lot of the details. I didn't even know. I don't think I no actually no I did know what my rent amount was, but I didn't know like a lot of the other questions, like what utilities I'd be paying, stuff like that. Like what sort of features the apartments have or something like that. I didn't even get a tour of what an example apartment or anything, so I didn't know I didn't really have a good idea what the layout of the apartment would be. But yeah, that was the main question I failed to ask, and that was what apartment number was going to be. So when I got back from my road trip to Las Vegas, I tried contacting my new landlord to find out what the apartment number is. I got no response for several days. No response. I finally got a call back on April 26th. So remember, I came back from my road trip on April 13th. I got this call back on April 26th. And the call was not good. They told me that the apartment wasn't going to be ready until the middle of May. Yeah. And it wasn't even going to be the same apartment. They called me and they're saying, "Oh, you're moving into this apartment number, right?" And I said, "Yeah." Or they said, "Does that sound familiar?" And I was like, "Yeah." But even though I didn't actually know what the apartment number was, so that was my first time hearing what the apartment number was. It's them telling me in that phone call. Anyways, after I confirmed, even though I really didn't, that was going to be the apartment number I was going to move into. Yeah, they tell me that apartment is not going to be available for quite a while because they were having a legal battle with the current tenants there. Yeah. So that apartment wasn't going to be ready for the foreseeable future. So they told me, "Oh, well, we happen to have this other apartment opening. It's going to be available in the middle of May." 2 weeks late. Only 4 days before I was supposed to move in. And this is my first time hearing about it. Yeah. Imagine how panicked and unhappy I was at that point. I was supposed to move out. I gave my previous apartment the 30-day notice that I was supposed to move out 4 days from that day I got that call. Or 5 days, whatever you want to say. That was a very frustrating time, let's just say. April 26th is not a good day because of that. So yeah, I'm very panicky at this point. And I started talking to friends about it, and they offered advice. They said, "Hey, you should talk to your current landlord and see if they can extend your stay." I was pretty sure they weren't going to because I'd given them an official written notice saying I was going to move out on the 1st of May. So I was pretty sure by then, by April 26th, 4 or 5 days before, they were already going to have someone ready to move in the day after I moved out. So I figured this is not going to happen. They're not going to let me stay any longer. Well, wouldn't you know, I go talk to my current landlord, and I was able to get an extension on my lease. Well, not an extension on the lease, basically. What we did for that very last month they said, "Here, we'll just have you move. We'll extend your lease to May 31st, and you can move into the new apartment, halfway through that month. But also, it'll give yourself 2 weeks to get everything out of the current apartment." So although it sucked that I had to pay another month of rent at the old place, I didn't want to do that. I wanted to avoid that entirely. It at least gave me some time to move into the new place gradually, move out, just take my time, instead of trying to do all of it in one day. So it sucked. I had to wait another 2 weeks, but it wasn't too bad a deal at this point because I was like, okay, so I got 2 more weeks to load up my stuff, and to pack everything up. And I can just gradually, over the 2 weeks following that, move in. So, whatever. Okay, so for this next part of the story, I'm going to have to backpedal a little bit. Essentially, when I originally planned to move, regardless of where I was going to move, I was planning to stay at the same Walmart I was currently working at. I didn't mind, if I moved to Neenah, then it would be like a 30-minute commute every day. And at first, I didn't mind that because I've done 40-minute commutes before when I was living in Cheney commuting to Spokane, Washington. That was a 45 minute commute at that point. So I'd done worse. I thought to myself at the time, okay, it's not a big deal, whatever. But then I think that's what I decided that in the middle of March. But throughout April, Walmart started bringing out new changes, and among those was changes to the third shift. They changed it to where you work 4 10-hour shifts instead of 5 8-hour shifts. That was the first big change that they made to third shift, sometime during that time frame between March 19th and April 26th. And then they started bringing out additional changes. Now, at this point, I was working second shift, and most of the time, I was spending most of my time like stocking the shelves in electronics. I was working in the electronics department. I was stocking shelves, and helping out customers. That was my job essentially, is stocking shelves and helping out customers. So I liked that deal. But then, and one of the changes that happened during this time frame was they put special focus on zoning, which is where you straighten the shelves, essentially, like what's already on the shelves. And that I didn't mind at first, because it's just another thing I can do, like in addition to stocking the shelves whenever there's no customers to help out. So I was fine with that too. But then there was one change they brought that finally, basically was the final nail in the coffin for me to decide to move to third shift. And at that point, I'd already been considering going back to third shift like ever since I came back from third shift to day shift, like back in 2018, or was it? No, it was 2017. Because third shift always had that $1.50 bonus, and I'm a night owl anyway, so I like being awake at night. So the final change they brought in that was the final nail in the coffin for me was that third shift would be handling all of the stocking. They were taking away the stocking position from day shift, essentially. And at that point, if I continue to work in my current store, I'd basically be a full-time zoner. Like, all I'd be doing is just straighten out shelves and help out customers. To me, that sounded pretty boring. And not only that, but also up to this point, like, I worked in electronics like up 6 months up to this point. I started like in October or September. I think it was October of the last year. I started working in electronics instead of the front end. At this point, I was starting to get really sick of customers. The customers up at the front end sucked, but they were even worse at electronics. Half the time, it was some old person wanted me to work with their phone and whatnot. But keep in mind, the pandemic was still going on, and we were not supposed to touch phones. We're not supposed to handle other people's stuff at all. So every single time an old person came to me, or whoever came to me and wanted me to like put up the phone and fix it or something like that, I would refuse, because we're not supposed to be handling other people's phones. And not only that, but also, we are not technicians. The Walmart associates are not phone technicians. We are not paid to fix phones. I'm pretty sure a phone technician pays more than a Walmart employee. So, needless to say, I was not interested in handling people's phones, regardless of whether or not we were not supposed to, because of the pandemic thing going on. That had no bearing on it. Either way, I didn't want to, because I'm not being paid to fix phones. I'm not being paid to touch other people's phones. I don't care. I don't know where that phone's been, okay? It's disgusting. So, it's not like that, but just customers back there were just so pissy, like, either way. I could make a whole video about that too, like the customers that I had to deal with in the electronics department. So yeah, they wanted to make us full-time zoners, and that was the final nail in the coffin for me, because that just sounded boring, and all I'd be doing is just helping customers out, which are, like these ungrateful, jerky customers all the time. That's all I'd be dealing with. So I was not interested in doing that whatsoever anymore. I decided, that's it, I'm moving to third shift. Because every single logical reason pointed to me doing this, essentially, because 4 10-hour shifts, which means 3 nights off every single week, $1.50 overnight shift bonus, no customers, because we are closed overnight now. As far as I know, there's no 24-hour Walmarts right now. There used to be 24-hour stores, but now there isn't. Because up to this point, they've been closing like they've been open at 7 a.m. to 11 p.m. essentially. I think that's every store across the country, with some differences here and there, or some outliers here and there, whatever. it just made sense, essentially, me moving to third shift. Like those three huge major reasons, essentially. And so that's when I decided to move to third shift. But I also decided to take this opportunity to transfer to another store, because the thing is, and the main reason why I decided to transfer to another store instead of just moving to third shift at my current store is because I was not a big fan of certain individuals that work on third shift at the previous store. So I'm not going to go I'm not going to go into detail about that, but that's essentially the reason why I transferred stores. And I figured, why not transfer to the store closest to where I live? So yeah, I decided to transfer to the Walmart near where I was going to move to. So on April 26th, that's when I first made the call to the new store requesting to move to third shift. Now, in the process of making the changes to third shift, Walmart opened up I think most stores opened up 15 overnight positions, and they were full-time. Most of them were. So it was just all the more reason. So that just gave me a whole lot of opportunities to, get the position, and I jumped at the opportunity. So yeah, April 26th, I started contacting the new store. The same day I got that, we had the whole spiel with the call from the new landlord about the whole situation. So I called them on April 26th, and over the next few weeks, I'll keep in contact with them essentially, and even do the job offer over the phone, stuff like that. Just May 16th. Yeah, so skipping ahead to May 16th real quick. That's when I got when they did the job offer with me, and on May 22nd, that was my first third shift at the new store essentially. And for a little bit, I had to commute to the store from Fond du Lac, but we'll get to that in a second here. But so basically, the main thing is that for the past month, I've been back on third shift. I'm full-time on third shift again for the first time since August of 2017, and I'm very happy to be back on third shift, aside from the obvious issues with the sleep schedule and whatnot. But that's another separate video I can do later. So going back to April 26th, I extended the 30-day notice to May 31st at my current apartment. That's when I was going to move out. It was May 31st. Well, be moved out by May 31st. That was the idea. So at this point, everything seemed all good. I was about to transfer to a new store, and I was going to start the moving process in the middle of May. But that's just it. I didn't have an exact date. So over the next couple weeks before, I assume somewhere around May 15th, that's the middle of the month. I figure maybe somewhere around there I'll be moving in, but I want to know for sure. So over the next couple weeks, I would call them once a week or maybe once or twice a week to find out what my exact move-in day was going to be, when the current tenants move out of a second apartment, not the first one. The first one, that whole legal battle is going on, so as far as I knew, that apartment is never going to be available for me, at least not for several months or so, whatever. However, whatever went on with that, I don't know, honestly, beyond that. The second apartment at the same building, obviously. In fact, it was the unit right next to the one I was originally going to move into. But either way, I knew the apartment number, but I didn't know the exact move-in day, so I called them various days between the 1st of May and the 10th or 12th or so. I don't know. I don't know the exact details there, but essentially around May 10th or so, whatever day it was, I finally got a hold of them because they missed a lot of the calls I would give them. Essentially, they weren't very good at catching calls. Essentially, I would often get no answer whenever I called them. So, whatever day it was in early May, I finally got in contact with them, and they told me, "Hey, lovely day, isn't it?" That's literally how they started the conversation. And then they proceeded to tell me that at the very earliest, this apartment's going to be ready the first week of June. Because apparently the tenants were not ready to move out in the middle of May. They were instead going to move out at the end of June, at the end of May, and the landlord would still have to prepare the apartment for me before I moved in. Yeah. So at this point, I'm losing my mind once again. And although I'm not happy about it, I, at this point, was considering checking into a hotel for a few days to live in between apartments, essentially. Now, I'd already considered this before. When I originally got that call on April 26th about the apartment not being ready till the middle of May, I originally planned, like, one of the options I was considering was staying in a hotel for 2 weeks in the first half of May. I would have gone bankrupt if I did that, honestly, because let's just say that I did end up staying in a hotel, and even staying in that hotel for less than a week was a problem. But we'll get to that later. Kind of getting ahead of myself there. So jumping ahead to May 31st, at this point I was working full-time overnight shift at the new store, and it was time to move out of my current apartment. Now, I probably could have extended for another month, but I was just not interested in doing that. I had already gone to this month saying this is the last time I'm ever going to pay rent at this current apartment. I want to not do that anymore. I probably could have stayed there for another week or two and paid only like half the rent, but it just wasn't worth it because I would have had to pay the full, I still had to pay the rent at the new place I was moving into, and I didn't want to pay rent for two places at once. So it came down to, I decided that I'm just going to move out on May 31st and stay at a hotel for however long it takes to get the new apartment, or for the new apartment to be ready. I checked into the hotel on May 30th, and here's why. Because at this point I'm working third shift, so I'm sleeping in the afternoon from 12 to 11, or 12 to noon to 8 o'clock at night. And you cannot check into a hotel before 3 p.m., I do believe. Yeah, 3 p.m. at most hotels, including the one I end up checking into. So, if I was to wait until the 31st, when I moved out, I wouldn't have been able to check into the hotel until 3 o'clock, so which means I wouldn't have been able to go to bed until 3 o'clock in the afternoon at the earliest. So it would have given me, like, only 4 or 5 hours of sleep at best for work that night. So that's why I checked into the hotel one day early. But I honestly kind of wish I had just waited until May 31st to check in anyways, because the move-out process was so not fun whatsoever. It was the worst part of this move entirely. Because despite having a month and a half to get myself ready, it still took quite a while to get everything out of that apartment into the U-Haul truck, which I got a 15-foot U-Haul truck. And I could have swore, like, the thing is, I didn't need any help moving into that apartment originally because they had an elevator. So I just used the furniture dolly to move everything into the elevator, and that would take me straight up to my apartment. So there, it was no issue. I was able to move into the apartment without any help from anyone with the furniture or anything. I was able to do it all on my own. So I went into this move out with the assumption I'd be able to do the same thing moving out. No. 3 hours later, it's noon, and I wasn't even, was maybe halfway done with everything. I got all the furniture out, and at this point, the U-Haul truck was almost completely full already. Which is weird, because when I moved into this apartment, a 15-foot truck was perfect size. It was the only truck I needed. Like, it was the only space I needed to get everything in. But no. I got all the furniture in and started moving stuff in. The truck was already almost full. So, at this point, I should probably also mention this fact. At the place I rented the U-Haul truck from, they only give you up to 24 hours with the truck. So I only had 24 hours with the truck, and I couldn't load everything into it. Major issues there. So, that's where the storage unit came in. I had to get a storage unit to put all my stuff in temporarily to keep in there while I'm living in a hotel. So I'm paying for all those days, for however many number of days at the hotel. It ended up being 6 nights, by the way. And also a month of storage of my stuff and the U-Haul truck. So at noon, I decided, I'm gonna need help with this move. So I got a coworker, a friend of mine, to help out with the move, and that made it a little easier. But even then, by I can't remember what time it was. I think it was like 5 o'clock or so. I can't remember if it was 4 or 5 o'clock. Maybe, I think it was 5 o'clock actually. Yeah, 5 o'clock. And so we. Okay, I need to talk more about the storage unit pit too, because this gets even more crazy. Right, this gets even more crazy. See, so the storage unit was through U-Haul, and if you reserve a U-Haul truck, they will give you 1 month of free storage. So I went for that. So I mean, technically I didn't pay for the storage unit. I did pay for like a padlock that comes with it, and there's like insurance too, so a little bit of that. But that's about it. I didn't pay. I think it's like $18 or so for the storage unit, since the 1 month was free. Yeah, I go to the storage unit. We get there. We open up the storage unit. It's the size of a closet. It's like 5 feet by 5 feet. That's it. At this moment, I felt pretty stupid because I never thought, like, I didn't have any experience with storage units up until that point. But I thought to myself, there's no way a storage unit could be as small as a closet. That's why I just went for a small storage unit. I didn't even pay attention to the dimensions. Like, that's how stupid I am. Without paying attention to the dimensions, I just assumed that the smallest storage unit would be enough to carry all the stuff I had. No. Yeah, so after we opened up and saw that it was only 5 by 5 feet, my coworker friend brought up that he had a storage unit of his own. So, basically at that point we decided that we would just take all my stuff to his storage unit. The first half of the load, by the way, because again, the truck was full after getting half of my stuff into it. So, we drive back down to Fond du Lac and put my stuff in his storage unit. Okay. But the problem is that when we put my stuff, the stuff that we had then into his storage unit is full. We filled up his storage unit entirely. So now that we don't have enough room in the storage unit to put the second half of the load. This just keeps getting worse and worse. So either way, we go back to my apartment. We load the rest of the stuff into the truck. Well, actually, this is where it gets to like around 5 o'clock. We kind of fill up like a quarter, like half of the second half of my stuff essentially before finally deciding, you know what, I need to get some rest. I need to take a nap. So ultimately, what we decided was I would go to the hotel and take a nap, and he would also rest for the day because it was pretty exhausting for both of us. And we decided that we would continue this at 6 a.m. the next morning because I had the truck until 9 a.m. essentially. So they gave us 3 hours to load everything into the truck and then figure out where to put it, and then turn the truck back in by 9 a.m. So I went there an hour early, though I showed up at the old apartment at 5 a.m. on June 1st. By the way, I was supposed to be moved out the day before. I was lucky enough to get all this done before my landlord noticed I was there on June 1st still. Yeah, I don't know how that happened, but yeah, since we did so early, I guess it worked out. But anyways, around 7 or 7:30 a.m., we finally got everything out of the truck, or everything out of the apartment and into the truck. And then he brought up that he had a friend who had a storage unit. So we took all the second half of my stuff and took it to that storage unit. So now, at this point, my stuff is separated between two storage units. Half in one storage unit, half in the other. They're quite a distance from each other too, these two storage units. They're like 10, 15 miles apart. So that's pretty crazy. I'm living in a hotel, and my stuff is like separated in half in two separate storage units. Yeah. That's how June started for me. That's how this month started for me. So I was living in a hotel, still working at Walmart, like usual. And one nice thing is that the hotel was only just like a 5-minute drive from work, so that was pretty nice. Versus my new apartment, which is now like 10 to 15 minutes from work. Same distance from it's the same distance from work as it was back in Fond du Lac, so there's that. So basically, I'm paying day by day for this for the hotel, and I think it was like around $65 a night at that hotel. So it didn't seem like a lot at first, but that adds up really, really fast. And it ended up being 6 nights at this hotel. On June 4th, I got the call finally from my landlord that the apartment was ready. That same day, I went to get the keys, and I finally saw the apartment. Now, I did record myself walking to this apartment for the first time, so I'll be posting that fairly soon. You'll get to see me walk into this and, react to this apartment for the first time. Here in a future vlog, I'll probably post that again as well soon. I got a lot of stuff to go into besides, what I'm talking about in this video, so don't worry, there'll be more time for that later. So I have to check out the apartment on June 4th, but it was already noon, like it was already afternoon by the time I checked out the apartment, so I didn't have enough time to get stuff into there. And plus, at this point I didn't have a mattress because my mattress was at the storage unit, so no mattress. Like all I had was just like some bare bone essentials, like my laptop and some food and water and stuff like that. Like just stuff to work with. I can't remember all what it was. So I think it was like my laptop, my GameCube, and stuff like that. Just stuff to play and stuff to work with, while I was at the hotel. So I finally checked out the hotel on June 5th. So after 6 nights there, and yeah, it really hurt my bank account essentially being in that hotel for that amount of time. I was basically like struggling financially at this point. I barely had enough money to pay the rent essentially is what I'm trying to say here. So, but that's on top of like needing other stuff too, like a mattress to sleep on, stuff like that. I actually had to get help from family members in order to make it through this move at this point. But basically, the first day I was on June 5th, I bought an air mattress so I could sleep on the floor, and I got a DVD player so I could put something on to watch and whatnot, just keep myself entertained, and also sleep too because I can't sleep without something running like on the TV. I'm kind of weird like that. But I also got blackout curtains so I could make it dark in my apartment so I could sleep like at all. But ultimately that didn't help because it just so happens that this first week of June was our first heat wave of the summer. Each day the highs were in the 90s. And I know that doesn't sound bad to someone who lives in Arizona or somewhere in the desert like Las Vegas or whatever desert you live in. But 90 degrees is very hot for Wisconsin because of the humidity. It's pretty insufferable, especially if you're trying to sleep in the afternoon in the heat, like in the heat of the day. And the worst part is I had no air conditioner. I could not afford to get an air conditioner. I have one, but I had one at this point, but it was my old air conditioner that I had since 2016, like summer in Cheney, and you saw that in my older vlogs too. But it was at the storage unit along with everything else. So for 4 days, I had no air conditioning and had to sleep in 90-degree weather. It was truly a miserable time, those 4 days, let me tell you. I don't know how I got through them at all, but I did. And I came out very sleep deprived essentially. I didn't get much sleep at all those days, and it was just horrible. And nights at work were okay. They were a nice getaway from the situation at home, but it was just still miserable not being able to sleep properly for 4 days. So finally cut to June 8th, 3 weeks ago from today at this point now. On June 8th, I was finally able to get another U-Haul truck reserved. I had to get another U-Haul truck reserved so that way I could go pick up the stuff from the storage units and bring them here. Now I knew I would need a bigger U-Haul truck. I wanted to do this all in one trip. I was not about to, make 2 trips out to the storage units and whatnot, and, just to have to pay more in gas because those U-Haul trucks eat gas like nobody's business. Let me tell you. So I didn't have a lot of money. Just a reminder, I just barely had enough to pay for the rent, and with this financial assistance from relatives, I was able to get the truck, but I still wanted to avoid, having to pay for a lot of gas. So I had to make this all one trip essentially, just to save money on gas. Instead of getting a bigger truck, I put out for a 20-foot truck. U-Haul gave me a 26-foot truck. because they didn't have any 20-foot trucks available at the place I was getting it from. 26-foot truck. That's the biggest truck that U-Haul offers. It's meant for 2 or 3 bedroom house moves. I was just moved from 1 bedroom apartment to another 1 bedroom apartment. There were many times where I thought I was gonna like crash or hit somebody because I'm just not used to driving something that massive and bulky. So yeah, that was a fun experience. But either way, yeah, I rented the truck. We went to the 2 storage units and we loaded everything into the truck. Brought them back here, unloaded everything, and it was all done in the span of 4 hours. It really makes a huge difference getting help from friends. Is the big takeaway here, essentially. So June 8th, I finally had everything moved into this apartment, and over the next few weeks, I essentially arranged everything, unpacked everything, and stuff like that, and got rid of all the boxes. So now here we are, all moved in completely. I guess I'll show you a little bit. Yeah. Get you off the stand that you're on. And yeah. We moved in at this point. I'll do a more complete tour of the place in the future vlog, but essentially what it looks like now. Well, at least the living room, essentially. Hey, and there's my thing. The thing that I have you on the stand. So, get you back on there real quick. I guess consider that last clip to be like just a sneak peek of the tour video we're gonna do eventually, like here real soon. But essentially, now that I'm finally moved in here and everything's all done and settled, I'm looking forward to getting back to bringing Let's Plays to you guys. I'm going to continue recording Simpsons Hit and Run, but also recording the 2 new Let's Plays I have planned. As soon as I get those done, I'm going to start releasing those to you guys, as well as more Simpsons Hit and Run, hopefully. And that might take a month or so. I don't know how long it's going to take. It could take me a few weeks or up to a month or so to get the Let's Plays pre-recorded and going. But I really want to, because one of them is very timely. Essentially, I'll just give you that kind of hint. It's very timely, based off recent a recent certain gaming event, I will say. So be excited for that. In the meantime, I'll bring some vlogs out to you guys over time, and I'll just talk about stuff in the meantime till I get the Let's Plays out. But yeah, that's my whole moving experience, and it was quite rough. And this video is an hour long before editing it down, so I really like to be able to get this out to you guys today. It's already almost 8 o'clock in the morning, so I don't have a lot of time to get this out to you. I have to go to bed around noon, so I'll be lucky if I get this out to you today, but hopefully I do. So that's all I have for now. I'll talk to you guys later in the next vlog or Let's Play video. Bye.